you guys about Final Fantasy VII. I'm assuming most of you guys already own it. So you know, I'm going to be basing this review on the original game and what it currently is now. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into this. Alright, first thing I want to talk about is the graphics. Obviously, it's a big overhaul compared to the original, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I lost my shit when I saw Midgard for the first time, and it just blew me out of the water. Got me so hyped up for the game, but there were areas that I did notice that needed some touch-ups. Seems like they kind of forgot about them, or they just didn't look as good as the rest of the game. I don't know if it was just because of where I was and how they had to do things, but it just didn't look as good as some parts of the game. So the next thing I want to talk about is the combat. The combat for me was a letdown, mainly because I had to compare it to the original, but as a standalone it wasn't that bad. I found that the weapon leveling system and just created more busy work than was needed. I felt like if they focused on something else, they probably could have let you exit Midgard a little bit. They wouldn't have to do it in so many parts. There's a lot about this game that I'm going to be talking about that are going to feel like money grabs. And just so you all know what I mean by a money grab, it's by them adding more content that they really needed to, just so they can stretch out this game so they can do it in more parts. And the reason why it feels like busy work is just because you have to keep going back in there and leveling up your weapons. And sometimes one weapon will become better than another, and then you switch weapons and switch materia, and it just becomes a big hassle after a while, especially if you're doing a lot of fighting. And they did change the materia system a bit. It's now more like a combination of the original and Final Fantasy IX. If you haven't played Final Fantasy IX, basically some of the weapons or gear would allow you, but other than that, the materia system kind of works pretty much the same way, somewhat the same thing. Instead, it just lets you learn new abilities. I actually prefer the original version's way. I think they could have actually implemented it in a better way. Now, when it comes to the actual combat, to me it feels like a hack and slash. I tried playing it on the hardest difficulty, which is sadly normal, and it's really not all that difficult. As long as you kind of equip the right gear, you're good. Mainly just button mashing. The only real strategy that's involved is making sure that you have the right materia equipped, so that way your weapon does that little bit of extra damage. The boss fights themselves were rather disappointing because they're not difficult. They're just drawn out because they gave the bosses such insane amount of health. While I was playing the game, my girlfriend was watching me and she got bored because of how long the fights were taking. And it's not because I wasn't doing enough damage or I wasn't doing the fights right. It was just, they were just so damn long. Some of the boss fights I actually had to pause the game and go do something else because I just got bored because they were taking so damn long. It was really, really disappointing, and they've actually added some boss fights. While the cinematics are good, the whole fight itself is rather disappointing, just because of how long it takes to kill some of these bosses. And even some of the enemies you are kind of run into while you're running around, even those are somewhat disappointing, but they're not as bad as the boss fights. Speaking of cinematics, one of the big things I was disappointed in was all the extra content that they added in. They added to the story, but at the same time they're taking away from it. It seems very mediocre in how they changed some of the characters' personalities. At least to me, it feels like they've changed. For example, Jessie, she comes on to Cloud hard, and it's not so much cringy as just slightly kind of pathetic, and I never really pictured Jessie in that way. In the original, it was always obvious that Jessie kind of had a thing for Cloud, but I didn't expect them to do this. And I guess this might be a spoiler, but they kind of changed what the numbers are. I haven't beaten the game yet, so to me I'm assuming that's what these things are, but they kind of look like foreskin of Forgotten Past. I know that's kind of disgusting, but that's actually what they look like to me. That's what they remind me of, foreskin of Forgotten Past. minor things like that. The story actually isn't all that bad. Just so you know, the spoiler warning hasn't ended yet. There's one part that I love with Cloud's cross-dressing scene that I absolutely love that they added in, but at the same time I'm a little disappointed that they took away some things, but it still makes it worthwhile. Seeing him dance, dear God, I loved it. I wish I could do it again. Just redo that part. I just want to do that part again. But that leads me into another problem, is there's a section of that area that you have to do this kind of Coliseum battle thing. It just felt like more busy work. There's even zones that you go through that you're just like, you didn't need to add this in. They made some areas way too big. They made some areas too much going on just to keep you busy. And I feel like that if they just worked a little bit more on extending the game instead of creating all this stuff so that they can keep you in Midgar, probably shorten this down to about maybe 3 episodes instead of 4 or 6 or whatever it is they plan to do. But I have to admit, I did enjoy wall market. They added in the combat in that area, there's music that plays and it transitions into something a little bit more fast-paced, and the transition between the two music and going back again is perfect. Just hoping that they've learned from their mistakes with this game and they do a little bit better on the next one. I don't know if I'm gonna buy the next one, but I was actually a little disappointed with this one. But if it wasn't for the fact that it had the Final Fantasy VII name, I would actually rather enjoy this game a lot more, just because I'm comparing it to the original. I just find the original so much better. I actually found myself wanting to play the original while I was playing this game. But to summarize, like I said, the game's actually rather good, but my enjoyment was kind of lacking because I was too busy comparing it to the original. I'm a huge fan of the original. And if you like Final Fantasy VII, I kind of feel like you're going to feel the same way, that you're going to feel a little let down. But you're probably still going to enjoy the game. But on a standalone game, it's actually rather good. If it didn't have that Final Fantasy VII name, I would actually consider it a lot better than what I consider it now. And I'm curious to know what all of you think of the game. Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to share this video. Well, this is where I'm going to end the video. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and everyone stay safe, and hopefully you won't have to hear my boring voice again for a while.
It's a straight shot to victory, people. All we gotta do is tank it.